What if the most powerful weapon of a war was not a soldier, but a system?
Long before the first shot was fired, decisions were already moving armies into place.
This war machine did not rely on chaos. It depended on precision.
Efficiency turned repetition into momentum.
On paper, distance and time became tools of strategy. Without supply and timing, even the strongest force would stall. Strength emerged when every part moved at the same pace. In this system, minutes mattered as much as materials. Production only mattered when it moved without interruption.
Uniform designs allowed speed to replace hesitation.
Written procedures replaced constant supervision. Once standardized, the system could grow without slowing down. When systems aligned, distance began to lose its meaning. Movement replaced pause as the system learned to flow. On paper, speed was calculated long before it was felt. Once in motion, the system pushed forward under its own weight. Speed demanded constant adjustment from every layer of the system. Beneath the speed, small weaknesses quietly accumulated. At first, coordination delivered results faster than anyone expected. Beneath the efficiency, strain began to surface. As the system grew, control became harder to maintain. As operations spread, distance began to matter again. Bottlenecks formed where speed once flowed freely.
Sustaining momentum required constant recalculation.
As pressure grew, priorities quietly shifted. Momentum slowed as limits became impossible to ignore. From that point on, every decision carried greater risk. Over time, complexity became a burden rather than an advantage. As demands multiplied, response times inevitably slowed. The machines still moved, but no longer with the same certainty. As options narrowed, choices became heavier. Small adjustments rippled across the entire structure.
By this stage, outcomes were shaped long before they appeared.
Systems endure by repeating themselves long after moments have passed.
What remained was a rhythm shaped by the system itself. The most lasting lessons of power are often the quietest. The consequences of systems often extend far beyond their original moment. Once built, structures of power tend to outlast those who created them.
Understanding how such systems work begins with recognizing their silence.
In the end, the system grew larger than the people who served it. What remained were patterns, routines, and their lasting effects. Understanding how such machines operate helps ensure they are never repeated.
Every machine, no matter how powerful, eventually slows.
Only with distance can history be clearly understood. History speaks most clearly when we choose to listen. Even after the machinery stopped, its presence could still be felt. History does not repeat itself exactly, but its patterns often return. The question is not how such systems worked, but how easily they can form again.
Eventually, every system reaches a point where it can no longer move forward. Time allows us to see systems not as moments, but as patterns.
What endures is not the machine itself, but what we learn from it. Sometimes, reflection requires stillness. This story is one chapter within a much longer history.
Before we move on, it is worth remembering why these lessons matter.
How complex systems can shape events beyond any single decision.
If this perspective helped you see history differently, consider exploring more stories like this.
History unfolds when we take the time to understand it.
History does not end with conclusions, only with transitions.
What we take from history depends on what we choose to notice. Understanding the past is the first step towards shaping a better future.